extra. Express myself, I'm next up. Yeah, one more you say. Coming up. Yeah. Come on, yeah. Come up now. Come on, stop me. Come on, you coming up.
I swear I hear something new every time I listen to that song.
I know. It's like, okay, you got to really pay attention to that because you
Yeah,
are.
I'm going to come up. I was over here like, I'm going to come up now.
Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. Oh my goodness. It is Tuesday again, and we are here, Morgan and I, for another Hop series. I don't know about you, but I am very excited for today. And your girl is back on American soil temporarily. So I'll be home, I guess, this week unless something comes up, at the last minute for me to go somewhere. But right now I'm stationary working, catching up on stuff. So it's all good. It's good.
Yay.
Yes. And I thought I would be good. So I flew back into New Jersey and spent some time with my kids. So I'm like, okay, I'll use this time to rest. I'll get, reacclimated to this time zone and everything. No. When I got here Sunday, worn out. Yesterday, worn out. So I'm hoping today, I've been inside all day. Yesterday was 106 degrees here in Texas. It was blazing,
Holy
blazing hot.
cow.
I don't know what it is today. Here, let's see what my phone says. It says 103. 103. Yep. So I've been inside all day. So I'm good. I'm good.
Look,
So
the only time I've ever experienced weather like that was in Oklahoma. Okay, 110 in the shade.
it gets like that in Oklahoma. I didn't know that.
Yes, I did like a
Oh,
camp meeting thing back in the day, middle schoolish. And yeah,
right.
I remember it being like 100 and yeah, it was
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
So yeah.
Hey,
Crazy. Hello.
Christine. Hey, Christine, how are you? So today has been interesting. You know how when you're working on a project and you get almost done and then you hit a snag and then it's like you can't get it finished. That's exactly what was happening before I got on here. So I'm like so annoyed. I have it pulled up on another screen. Like, oh, before I go to sleep tonight, this is going to be taken care of. It's going to be fixed tonight. So, but other than that, so how was your day?
It was good. It was good. I can't complain too much, honestly. It's raining today, so it was fine. Joe's birthday was the other day, so I now officially have a teenager.
Oh my goodness. How does he feel? Does he say anything different? He feels
Um, he said he did. What did he say? He said he felt a little slimmer the next day.
okay, that's different. Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
I'm like, okay, so if getting older makes you slimmer, then whatever works for you.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to be slimmer then.
Exactly.
Slim me up, please.
Exactly. So yeah, I was like, but the last couple of days have been good. Today was not too bad. Kind of,
Mhm.
chill. Baby was cool and chill too, so it was all good. And I'm glad for that, only because I know things are about to rev up in the next week. I've got, 2 looming births,
Yay.
maybe 3.
Oh,
So
good. Y'all keep all that baby stuff over there in Delaware. I want no parts of that. I'm good over here. You hear me? Good.
unless it means work, because you could always teach a quick C-section real quick. Not
Yeah,
that
that is true. That is
that's
absolutely true.
as
And
far as your birth goes.
I would absolutely love that. Teaching is definitely my passion, so I would definitely do that. So, you guys, on your screen, there is a QR code to scan and to subscribe to the House of Peach. That way, you can keep up with what we are doing, all of our events, and when we are live, things that are going on. There's a lot. So, we want to make sure you are in the loop, in the know of what's going on here, because there are some great things happening with the House of Peach. I don't know if you heard, but you might want to listen. Put your ear to the ground and hear what's going on. Also, I want you to tag someone and share. We want to share this. We want others to be on. This is not, this is a women's empowerment. However, we want everybody to be on. We want everybody. We want all of your feedback. We want all of your hellos, your questions, everything. We want everybody to be included. So that's what we are about. And Morgan and I absolutely love hosting this show, and we like hosting it together because we just flow. We flow. We got it like that. Like we've known each other forever
Yes.
that way. But tonight, oh my, tonight, I personally am excited about our guests this evening because I just am. I'm just excited to have a conversation, to hear the story, to hear what she has to say, to what she wants to share, all of that. Are you excited like I
I
am?
am super excited as well. I literally am on the edge of my seat.
Yes, yes. So, our guest for this evening is I'm sure you can figure out what her name is because there it is in the topic says Kathy. So my mom's name's Kathy, so I will never forget that. So Kathy Carpenter is our guest on this evening. She is the owner of Brown's Real Estate. So she is a real estate agent. She owns the company. How about that? So she's the big boss. And she's also the founder of Trans Lions. And I'm not saying anything about that because I want her to tell us all about it, how it got, just everything, everything. I'm just ready. So if you guys are ready, I'm ready. And we're going to bring Kathy in and we are going to have this conversation. Hi, Kathy.
Hello.
Hi, April. Hi, Morgan. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
Kathy reached out to me. So when Pierce put the post up, what was that, like a couple of months ago? Maybe
Yeah.
she put the post up. If you're a woman entrepreneur, and you would like to be on the show, to either reach out to Morgan and myself. And Kathy ended up in my inbox, and I was like, "Who is this?" And so she sends me all of her links and pictures and stuff, and I'm like, "Oh wow, okay, let's do this. Let's do this." So
We
we got
love boss women. So listen, we are ready.
yeah, so we got a
Oh,
date together. I said, send me your picture. She sent a picture over. We got on the flyer. Everything was a go. And I am excited to have you here. We both are very excited. Now, we want you to feel free to share what you want to share or not share. We're not going to press and push. However, I'm not above asking questions. So if something piques my interest, and I want to ask a question, and you're like, yeah, no, I don't want to answer that, then just say, no, not right now, not today. And I'm cool with that. But I want to hear it all. So first, let's talk about your real estate company. Let's talk about how you got into that. What led you into that first?
sure. Well, my father and I have always been partners since I was a little kid. As soon as my father had a construction company, so as soon as I was old enough to hold a hammer, I was out there helping him. My name, Kathy Carpenter Brown, is a drag name actually, and I didn't get the name Carpenter because I look like Karen. um, so we were partners until I was a teenager. Then I went to college, graduated from Delaware State University, where I was the captain of Delaware State University wrestling under Coach Bill Colick. Um, and I guess if you haven't figured it out already, I am a transgender woman. Um, I want to make sure that before we start this, that it's my story, and I can't speak for the entire transgender community. I can only speak for me and my experiences. Um, I was born female. In preschool, I tried to tell people that I was female. They wouldn't listen. They didn't want to listen to it. I was actually held back in first grade because I didn't want to go to school. They were going to make me line up boy, girl, and I faked every sickness I could fake to not go to school. So they held me back, and I kind of figured, well, I better start going to school. And it's always followed me. I've never felt male in my life, even though I lived a male's life. And I feel very blessed to have done both. I'm of the strong opinion that you should not have to be ashamed of being transgender, that you should not have to give up everything that you've achieved through your whole life in order to change your name and be who you are. To me, what happened was a transition. I transitioned in preschool. This is a confirmation for me. This is just who I am, who I've always been, and it's like falling off a log. It's really so easy. But Brown's Real Estate Services. Okay, went to college, degree in economics, graduated from Delaware State, went off to Disney and worked for Walt Disney World for 10 years, opening hotels with Disney. I came back, and my father was in real estate then as a real estate appraiser. So we got together, and once again, we formed a partnership, Brown's Real Estate Services. We formed it in 2000. And I've been doing real estate appraisals. And if people don't understand, I'm not a real estate, I don't sell real estate. I'm not a broker. I'm the person that the bank calls when they want to know how much your property is worth. So I get to go around and take pictures of houses and give my opinion. You know, what better job is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a history in carpentry. I have a lot of experience with construction. I ran a home inspection service for a while, and a carpentry business, my own carpentry business. When I retired from Disney, I started above the code home inspection services and did home inspections. And one of the coolest things I did was as a subcontractor for a place called the Renegade. And I don't know if you or anybody in our audience knows about the club, the Renegade, but it was our community center back in the day. It was where we went to find each other, where we went to find help, where we went to find family when our family kicked us out of the, that's what the Renegade was. Right now, the first ever Pride community display is in this museum. It features the Renegade, the history of trans rights, and our battle for equality here in Delaware. And in the Zwannendale, you'll see my dress, my crown, and my title. I was the last girl crowned Miss Sussex County at the Renegade, at the Miss Gay Delaware pageant, the last Miss Gay Delaware pageant held at the Renegade. I was crowned Miss Sussex. So there's never been another one. So I got to keep the crown and the title and the dress, of course. I
you are the reigning queen.
Yeah, well, the reason that dress and that title are in the Zwannendale Museum is actually because I could not compete in Miss Gay Delaware as a transgender woman. At that time, we were banned from the Miss Gay Delaware pageant. So the Miss Sussex crown was actually what we call a Sweetheart Award. That is, it went to me for my outreach, for the help that I gave to Miss Gay Delaware pageant. I was terrible drag queen. You don't want that. The only reason I did it at all because they told me I couldn't. So
I love that.
You told me I couldn't, so I did it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Our battle for the bathrooms actually started in the Renegade. I was actually the carpenter that remodeled the bathrooms, and I couldn't use the bathrooms that I just remodeled.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So the owner of the Renegade, or no, the manager of the Renegade, Wayne Hodge, actually stepped up and said, no, trans women can use the bathroom that they identify as. So the Renegade was one of the first place in the country to openly say, hey, we allow transgender women to use the bathroom that they identify with. That soon caught on to all the LGBTQ clubs in Rehoboth, and that was the start of that battle. We didn't actually get that equality till 2013. So anyway, back to Brown's Real Estate Services. We were one of the largest appraisal companies in the county at one time. We had 3 generations. My father, myself, and my nephew were appraising real estate at that time. And that's a pretty good accomplishment because now it does require a 4-year degree and a concentration in economics. So it was quite an accomplishment to get 3 generations all in one company.
Right, right.
My father passed away in 2019, and I kind of said, well, I don't want to start training any more competition. I just want to like be on my own, take the company and just me. My nephew also went his own way, so he's independent and running his own company right now. And we're both very comfortable with that decision, I think. I just need to realize I'm getting old, and contrary to what you said, getting old does not make you slimmer.
I think it might be a teen thing because I haven't seen that happen at any time soon either. So
I'd be skinny as a rail right now.
So,
Wow.
Kathy, I got a question for you.
Sure.
So you said that you started transitioning in preschool. What was that like, one, for you? And then what was that like for your parents? Because you did mention that, the Renegade was a place for, was a second community and a second family for those who, were displaced or at least kicked out of the home because of, their choices, because of how they felt, because of how they wanted to be able to live their truth and not able to do that. So how was that, as far as home life is concerned, and then also for you personally growing up and dealing with that?
Well, for me, I learned very quickly that this is a secret that I had to hide. I learned how to be a boy. It wasn't something, when you're cisgender, nobody taught you how to be female. For me, I used to call it monkey see, monkey do. I did. I see the boys do something, I do something, that I do what they did, and that was my transition. It was a very solitary transition. Every Halloween, my mom would ask me, like, what do you want to be for Halloween? And I'd be like, a girl. Oh, you mean like Wonder Woman or I Dream of Jean? No, a girl. And that's what, I went to 4th grade. I went to school for Halloween dressed as a girl. And I got in pretty big trouble. I had to sit in the back of the class. That was really traumatic. And it always became that way. When you had counselors that you came out to, they would be like, okay, well, you've got to wear dresses and you've got to go to school and you've got to tell your friends. And that's hard for somebody to do when you're young.
Right.
So it didn't get any easier. Telling my father was the hardest thing I ever did. And he always knew about it. It was just something that, my father was raised in a Catholic orphanage in Girard College in Philadelphia. And he was a good person. He wasn't a bad person, but this coming to grips with my gender, and when I was young, I told him about it. We had the conversation when I was young, and he was quite clear that he didn't want people calling me a sissy. So back then, you didn't go to your parents for help when you were being bullied. When people mistook femininity for flamboyance, you had to learn to defend yourself. So that's what they said back then. Boys will be boys. When a bully bullied you, you bullied back. That's how we were trained to do. So I started wrestling at an early age. 4th grade is when I started wrestling, and wrestling kept me safe. It gave me the ability to stand up to bullies, and know when not to stand up to somebody. Wrestling did everything for me. It paid for my college. And I'm not saying that I would have wrestled with if there was girls wrestling team that I would have done that, because I think with any athlete, you want to be at the highest level of your competition, whether that would be boy or girl or whatever. You want to push yourself to your highest level. And I think that's what we're missing out with these kids. Um, so for my family, telling my father was the hardest thing I ever did. It was probably the dumbest thing I ever did at that point, because he disinherited me. The whole family. I've really lost my family. My sister passed away. My one of my brothers has passed. I've only got a brother left and a sister-in-law, and I've been really kind of alienated from them. So that's where Translines comes in.
Okay.
That's when I started my transition. Because you have to have a therapist to start this. It's very difficult if you don't have a good doctor and the proper medical care to start this. But so my therapist says it's like going through puberty all over again. You've got to find others like you so that you can share your experiences, so that you can find out for sure whether you are transgender, non-binary, gender non-conforming, or wherever you lie along that spectrum. You need groups like Translines to go to find out where you lie on that spectrum. And I'm just as happy when somebody walks into Translines saying I'm transgender and leaves going, no, maybe I'm non-binary, or maybe I'm something else. I'm very happy with that. And it's their decision. It's something that they've got to develop on their own. You've got to find your own self-awareness. Um, don't be doing it because it's a social thing to do, or somebody had a great experience going through surgery and you want to go through surgery. It's not that cut and dry. There's a lot of myths around being transgender. And again, I can't speak for the whole transgender community.
Right.
It's too diverse. I can only speak for me, but for me, surgery was never an option. I never thought about having any type of what we call bottom surgery. It's not a matter of genitalia. Uh, I can't function without the hormones. Without blocking testosterone, it's just a non-starter for me. When I first started taking these hormones, when I first started blocking testosterone, it was like feeling normal for the first time in my life.
Wow.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Always being on edge, always wanting to feel aggressive, and not liking that feeling, and not feeling like you're in control. That's what having a female brain does when you're overloaded with testosterone. You got to we all have, women have it, men have it. When men get older, they need testosterone. Women need estrogen sometimes. They need, we all have different hormone levels. And I think that's where the confusion comes in. We have this social construct of male and female, and the perfect male is like XY chromosomes and blonde hair, blue eyes, and the whole nine yards. Where that really just doesn't exist in our society. There's so many genders in between. Both physically and genetically, we know. So it's very difficult to just have one person or one set of rules for male and female and transgender people, and a whole different set of rules for transgender people. We need consistent rules.
Mhm. So I want to go back a little bit, and I know it took an incredible amount of courage and strength for you to go to your family, at least go to your father. And I know how fathers can be. They can be very tough and strict on their children. Um, what was the initial reaction when you said the words, you actually spoke the words out of your mouth to him to let him know what was going on with you. What was his initial response?
Yeah, I saw an interview on CNN this morning about a family with a trans daughter, where the father was a pastor, and he
Mhm,
said that I accept her, but I don't agree with her.
mhm,
And you could see her just tearing up. Um, that's kind of the reaction that I got with my father. Is that his words, exactly word to me, is I need time. You know,
mm.
and he's known all his life. I mean, he had to. Um, yeah, he's been front row center at some of my drag shows back in the day. So, I mean, he knew. Um,
Yeah.
those were those were his last words. Shortly after, well, a few months after that, he passed away.
Mhm.
Um, I was lucky enough to be just a few minutes away when he did pass away, and I was able to see him right after he did.
Mhm.
Uh-oh, did I lose you?
We're
We can
here.
hear you.
You can still see and hear you.
Oh, you can see me? I lost you on my screen. Something's
Oh yeah, we saw the light go out, but we can still see and
ah,
hear you. Oh,
There
there
you
oh,
you
it went to sleep.
are.
Okay. Okay, so I yeah, I go to my father on his deathbed right after he passed away, and I just got that overwhelming sense of peace.
Mhm.
You know, there's always been tension. This has always been a point of contention with my father and I. And I just felt, that he finally understood. And maybe that's just me or just how the Lord works. I don't know. But it was closure for me.
Mm.
You
And
know.
that's always good. It's being able to have that peace and have that closure, no matter what it is. Now, the phrase that was stated that you just said was stated on the show on the interview this morning. I accept her, but I don't agree. What does that mean to a transgender person? Um, because I want to make sure I understand what that does
the impact.
to, yeah, the impact that it has when you have a family member, a parent to say that to you. How does that feel? What are you thinking? Does it make? Yeah, just tell me how that feels.
Well, we do have a parents group right now, but when I talk to trans parents about their children, I always tell them that forget understanding, okay? Unless you are going through this, you're not going to understand this. And don't put acceptance off until you do understand it, because you're not going to understand it.
Hmm.
What you should do is take joy in the fact that your child is becoming self aware. Whether that awareness is a phase or permanent, it's still that they're reaching out and exploring who they are. And maybe that might be also include who they aren't. Um, but like I say, you're not going to understand it. Don't try. Um, you want to, you want to be happy for that person. All right. Most people, I don't really care if people know. I don't really care. I don't want them to know I'm transgender. I want them to think I'm female, and I am female. No matter how I look, no matter how I sound, I'm female. It's just that's just the way it is, and I define that, and nobody else. It can't be defined by anybody else, and that's what these kids are doing at a very young age. I was talking to a therapist friend of mine last night, and she's telling me about her caseload in Philadelphia. And these kids are coming out at an extremely early age, before preschool even, and letting people know that this is who I am. And in some cases, the parents have no idea. The social worker's talking to the children, and the parents have no idea that has been happening.
Mm.
Um, so it's like, you walk down the street, nobody comes up to you and says, well, I accept you, but I don't agree with you. you know Nobody knows what's in your pants. Nobody knows what's in your DNA. They just make assumptions. So that's what happens to us a lot. They make about assumptions about us. The assumption about, hey, every trans girl wants to have surgery, or hey, every trans girl is attracted to a man. Those are just myths. And I
Mm.
tell you that the majority is quite opposite to both of those myths.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah. And again, I'm speaking for myself, and I do have a little bit of experience in the community.
Right.
So yes, there's a lot of women out there that they need that surgery. That surgery is right for them. They understand normally that going into it, that surgery will not change your sex. If you aren't female before that surgery, you're not going to be female after that surgery. It cannot change who you are, who your instinct has developed you to be.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
So the surgery would just be a complement to what you were already feeling, just the final piece to that, but you already were there prior to, already in that same vein. Okay.
yeah. I'm going to tell you the story of my castration, and it's not gory, and it's funny. Okay, so don't everybody just sign off because um, when I was young, my father was a scuba diver and he used to catch lobsters. So there was these giant rubber bands he would put on the lobster claws. Um, I asked him, "Where'd you get those giant rubber bands?" And he told me he got them from my uncle's farm. That they used them on bulls, and they would put them on a bull, and 2 weeks later, the bull would turn into a girl.
Mm.
So instantly, I go home, would get the rubber bands. They didn't stay on. They took them off. It hurt. Nothing happened. But it wasn't the idea that I hated my genitalia. It
Right.
was the idea that that was going to make me female.
Mm.
That's where it got into my brain, that would make me female. And that's not the case. I think it was Christine Jorgensen was one of the first women in the United States to have that surgery, the bottom surgery. She called it the Cinderella syndrome.
Mm.
She believed that there were many people out there that were having that surgery just to get a man.
Mm.
And yeah, and she warned against it. We hear a lot of now about people detransitioning. Um, it's really becoming like quite a thing. And of course, once Fox News finds out somebody's detransitioning, they got to put it up on Fox News and say, look, that's not right. Well,
Wow.
that's because there is not the proper medical care giving, and really, if you're trans, it doesn't take a lot of care. It just takes the right therapist and doctor. And if you have the right therapist and doctor, they can diagnose you in an hour if you're truly transgender. Um,
Okay.
it's really simple for them.
Right.
There's
So,
also
What does detransitioning mean?
detransitioning is like what's her name? Lady Valor just did it. Um, she wrote a book about herself, and a movie was made about her called Lady Valor. I'm having a name, problem remembering the name right now, but she's one of the most recent people to detransition. And what it is they've transitioned from male to female, socially, uh, and in this case, they did it surgically and medically transitioned. They got onto the other side and decided they did not want to do that anymore and went back to being a boy in this case.
wow.
It happens. We all change. I mean, look, often we call girls tomboys when they're young and they go through phases and change. You know, there's a lot of things that go into our change. Dr. Money back in the 70s, there was a Dr. Money, and he used to have this argument whether it was nature or nurture that the transition. He tried to prove his point. In a case of twins where one twin lost their genitalia at an early age, they brought the twin up as a girl, and the other twin was raised as a boy. But that twin never understood and was never told that she was anything other than a girl, but she could never change who she was. And it ended up that both of them ended up committing suicide.
Oh, wow.
That kind of thinking has changed. We now have doctors that are professional that understand this, that understand that it's environmental, it's genetic, it's physical, it's hormone levels, it's mother, father, nature, nurture, all of that combined. You just can't blame it on one thing. And it's not something you should be blaming anything, because it's something that you should be celebrating.
Right.
It would be something you're ashamed of.
When I was in New Jersey, I went to a workshop, and we had a surgeon that was one of the speakers at our workshop, and he was one of the leaders in gender reassignment surgeries in New Jersey. And he came, and he had video and picture of surgeries and things that he had done. But the one thing that struck me outside of the surgery itself was the care that the patients had to have prior to make sure that this was something they wanted to do. So he said that there was a minimum of a year worth of therapy that they had to go through to ensure they were mentally ready for that, because it's a drastic change. And I have never heard of detransitioning before, and I didn't even know that was a thing. So I am in shock, and I've learned something myself that, what do you think? And I know you can't speak for the entire community, but what is it? Do you think that there may have been something there already that causes them, or maybe some event that took place in their life that will cause them to detransition? Just in your opinion. I know you don't know, all of that, but just in your opinion.
Yeah. There's a lot of factors that go into it. There was a guy in Oregon that transitioned and detransitioned surgically and everything like 13 times.
Whoa.
Yes.
Wow.
My question is, where did the therapist miss something? Like, I feel like can we not have to go back and forth 13 times?
Yeah.
Yes. I think so too. But out of that came the Oregons changed the way they do driver's license. So because of that case, they made a non-binary or the other box, male, female, and now there's another box in Oregon. I'm sorry, what was your question again?
You answered it. You answered about it, but I'm with Morgan that apparently the therapist missed something in the sessions or in the meetings that they had, because that's very traumatic, not only physically, because I work in surgery, so I know how this goes. If we have to do repeat surgeries on patients and you're going back to the same area like that, it does something to the tissues, but even more your mental state with that.
Mm-hmm.
But so let's move a little bit forward. So go ahead.
Real quick though, what the issue is, why that happens, there's such a lack.
Your signal's breaking up. Is it raining?
Yeah, it is rain. Whoops. Seems like
you're still there. We can hear you.
Yeah, it's still back. Okay. There's just a lack of training. And any doctors think they're because they're or because they have a clinic that's LGBTQ. doing this. That's why we
Mm.
don't have the like the or and, or John Hopkins, Whitman Walker, and we are lacking it in Sussex County. We just started a needs assessment survey with Sussex Pride, and I'm also doing one with Salisbury University. We did the needs assessment over the Pride weekend and LGBTQ, and that was the entire LGBTQ needs assessment for the Delmarva area. And we expected it to be on the low side. Well, out of 100 participants so far, it's still ongoing. And people can go to sussexpride.org and take the survey if you're LGBTQ. And please do. We got out of the first 100 participants, the negative healthcare was flatline. We expect it to be, up and down a little bit. Some people had some good experiences, but it was flatline. I mean, just negative. Some very horrible stories coming out of Delmarva. And that's the issue. We don't have health care. And often we find ourselves training therapists, training doctors. We have to, we study, we know who we are. We have to go look for the doctor that can give us the care that we need. Where if I go to Chase Brexton Gender Clinic, that Dr. Dunn down in Chase Brexton, she's going to tell you what's going on with you. She's already knows. I don't care if you're non-binary, male, female, sister. She already knows. She knows what's going on with your hormones, and she can look at your hormones and go, there's something wrong here. We need to, that's why the detransition is. People that are doing this are not qualified, and people are transitioning for the wrong reasons.
Well, I hope they increase the training with the medical providers that are now coming out and going through school and coming out, so they are adequately prepared, because the population of and I don't want to say all the letters because I always forget one, but you know what I'm talking about. I just don't want to say it wrong, but
LGBTQ.
help me out.
I prefer to call it the Pride community.
There you go.
Okay, that works. Hey, that's easy enough.
So often we get tied up in those LGBTQ letters, and I'm sorry we have an organization here in Southern Delaware that claims to be LGBTQ and is not. I'm not going to go into details about that, but quite often those letters are used to harm the transgender community, and that's been happening since Stonewall. I mean, if you remember what happened to the trans community, Stonewall wasn't all a bed of roses for the trans community. I can tell you that. And that went on for decades. The Stonewall organization denied gender identity for decades. And even the founder of the Stonewall Democrats, Barney Frank, is quoted as saying after the Marriage Equality Act that, quote, transgender people do not deserve equal rights. Barney Frank, the founder of the Stonewall Democrats, said that. And it continues today here in Southern Delaware, for sure. And that's a major reason we don't have the healthcare that we need here in Southern Delaware.
Well, I have another question for you. I am in Kent County, but then also Newcastle County. And I am a doula, a birth worker. I am very much an ally when it comes to the Pride community. And it is very important for me because I believe that support in the birthing realm for anybody is necessary. So one, I would definitely like to extend an invitation, and I was like, we can definitely talk after this so that I could be able to set you up with a couple of the community doula programs. But what is some advice that you could be able to give to someone like myself Or well, I'm a little bit more well versed, but someone who isn't necessarily versed or knowledgeable in the pride community, but is a birth worker, to be able to support and I guess not necessarily be inclusive, but I guess properly support and advocate for a birthing person so that they feel like they are heard, that they are supported, and that they have an advocate outside of themselves in a very vulnerable situation.
I'm glad you asked that because that becomes quite an issue because there are trans men actually that do get pregnant and do go through pregnancies and raise their children. Um,
Mm.
so I think gender has to be just as important in those situations as anything else. And if there's some confusion, if there's a question, it's always okay to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. My name's Kathy. My pronouns are she, her. What are yours? That's a good way to do it. Um, Afraid to ask? Well, a lot of ever using a pronoun. You don't have to use he, him, they, them, their. You can use their name, and there's a dozen other ways to get around it. Um, so I was a trainer with the Disney Corporation, and when we trained our people on phones, we always trained them: do not use the gender marker. Do not use a pronoun. Hello, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. And if you do, make sure that that's how they want to be identified. Um,
Mhm.
you don't um, in a line of people, and Disney always has lots of line of people. You don't sit in a line of people and go, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, yo, sir, and then have somebody which you don't have a pronoun for. You know, um,
Right.
yes, you've got to be very careful about how you use your pronouns. And I always tell people you can get around that. And parents, if you want to practice it, take a nursery rhyme like Red Riding Hood and use they them pronouns. Um, Tell your nursery rhyme, and that's a way to get used to it. You start thinking about but when you look at your child and before you start automatically say he or her, these aren't well they maybe they that's they them, and now you're practicing it. Now you're getting better at it.
Gotcha. Well, does that same thing apply to, like, let's say, for instance, I need to explain the birthing process or something that's going on during labor. And this is not a birthing person who has had gender reassignment. Is Would I be wrong to refer to a body part as a vagina, although, like, where does that lie in that, with the, I guess, the line between being respectful and then also talking about what I see at the time, or what exactly is going on, because you don't want to be disrespectful or completely say, you know this is where we are, you're not really that, like, that's not what we're trying to do. So how do you respectfully talk about actual physical body parts in that situation?
Well, I think we're all adults, and hopefully at that point you pretty much got that information. It's really genitalia or anything below that is really between the doctor and myself.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
we I've had those experiences with hospitals and dentist or dermatologist. It doesn't seem to matter, but um, that that privacy of knowing that somebody is transgender is something that should be just between the doctor and the patient. Um,
Mm.
there's others around that um, aren't informed. Well, then maybe doctors lead and use the pronouns that the doctor's using. But you're not in that process. Don't be shocked when you see a man sitting on the emergency room table or wherever and having a baby.
Right.
Yeah, you've got to treat them like any other person. It's got to flow just as if that was a female, a cisgender person. They're having a child, and you've got to respect that boundary between the doctor and the patient. Way too often, that gets out of control.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have multiple complaints to hospitals, not only from me, but from my organization, about how desk staff make medical decisions for us.
Mm.
Yes, they will. They'll tell you we don't do that surgery, or we don't do this, or we don't do that, or what is your legal name? And I just gave you my legal name, Kathy Carpenter Brown. That's my legal name. But they're like, they try to get around it.
Mm.
Those are the things that we face. We face political and cultural bias. Um, for example, I'll use his name because there's a Dr. Malik here in Lewis at the surgical center. He's Iranian, and I went to him for help. He and his whole staff refused to use my female pronouns, and they cited that he's Iranian, and in their culture, there's a cultural difference that their culture doesn't do that, so I'm not going to do it.
But
So
then he has to understand that he is no longer in his culture. He's here, and that things change. That's what I can't understand. And I'm not well versed in the pride community. I'm not. I know people, I've gone to school with people who are a part of the community, but I never really got into it to really understand. But I'm very respectful, and I try to be very respectful. But one thing that bothers me, and I don't want to get onto this soapbox, but I do want to share this. One thing that does bother me tremendously is the how people are so judgmental and how they mistreat the pride community. And that I will never agree with and never support ever. Because at the end of the day, we are all human beings and we all deserve respect. And we all live our lives the way we live our lives. And if you don't agree with something that someone does, then that's your business, that's your prerogative. But you don't have the right to impose that nor mistreat that person because they choose what they feel is it's for them.
Their truth. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the problem I have. That
And
I
at the end of the day, it's also a service thing. And that's why I'm like, because I have a heart of service and I love to serve, at no point in time would I want someone to take what I'm trying to give or provide the wrong way. So for me, yeah, I would want to make sure that whatever verbiage I need to use, whatever makes my clients or, family members, whatever, feel comfortable in being able to be whom they are, what's the harm in that? And I guess, we as Black women also understand that as well, because that's a constant misunderstanding. When you talk about the healthcare situation, it immediately has me go back to what the Black maternal health rate is. And I'm over here like, well, you know what? I didn't even think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once we add in the pride community, you're right. I would want to know what those numbers are. And for you to say bottomed out, I already know what it looks like for Black and brown women in Delaware. But now to look and see that you guys, we have a D. So y'all definitely have an F minus. What do we need to do to raise that F minus as well? Because nobody should, especially in America, be at a less than at least what? Medium? We should at least be hitting a C at all times. I feel like we should at least be mediocre. So, so does the Alliance do training for professionals?
No, Trans Alliance itself is strictly a social group. Um, that's really, we found that when we start getting into, well, we do a lot of educational programs as
Okay.
far as that goes. We do like, for example, we just had Dr. Brittany Yerkes from Chesapeake Health speak at our Salisbury group. But she was actually trained by Dr. Deborah Dunn from Chase Brexton Gender Clinic. So we're working with her to develop a training program and hopefully to develop a gender clinic in Chesapeake healthcare. I'm working right now with Salisbury University as part of TICT, our Transgender Interprofessional Care Team. And what we've done is we're doing, besides the needs assessment we're doing for the Sussex Pride LGBTQ needs assessment, Salisbury University is doing a testimonial needs assessment. Out of that testimonial needs assessment, we will develop a training program to bring trans normative healthcare to all of the Eastern Shore, hopefully. And not only to the medical providers, but also dental care and insurance companies, things like that. Government officials will be able to get continuing education through Salisbury University through nursing programs and things like that. We are developing a symposium on November 15th at Salisbury University, where I'll be one of the speakers along with Dr. Deborah Dunn, and I hope Noah Duckett from Planned Parenthood will be joining us. And we've invited Governor Wes Moore to come down to Salisbury University to lead us in vigil, because that is the Trans Day of Remembrance. Every year we hold vigil for all of the trans women that are murdered throughout the year in the United States. And typically that's trans women of color. Overwhelmingly, it's trans women of color that are being murdered, in probably 80% to 90% of those murdered during the year are trans women of color. Yeah, so this will be our 6th annual Trans Day of Visibility. Or no, that's Trans Day of Remembrance, I'm sorry. In November is Trans Day of Remembrance, and that's when we mourn the death of all the people that are brutally murdered. That right now, according to the AMA, is at epidemic levels. So it's got to stop. It's got to stop. It's just, it's overwhelming. And the number of suicides has definitely gone up, according to the Trevor Project. And the number of people now identify as trans or non-binary or gender non-conforming has quadrupled since the last survey the Trevor Project did in 2017. We're seeing that in the schools right now. Elementary schools are having a tough time dealing with the transgender issue that's going on. And it's not that it's anything new. It's always been there. We've always been there. If you look at it from a biblical sense, Eve would be the first transgender woman. She did come from Adam's rib.
I never thought about it that way. I never thought about that. Wow. Let's talk about Trans Alliance. So you are the founder of the organization. When did you start that, and what made that come about, and how did you come up with the name?
Well, I first founded Trans Talk. I co-founded Trans Talk in Camp Rehoboth with Mark Hines, also known as Mark George, a behavioral therapist. And I think that was around 2015 when I started that. It didn't last too long. Camp Rehoboth is not a very trans-friendly place, so that didn't last too long. We tried several programs with them. In 2017, I started at the United Church of Christ Safe Harbor in Milton, and I really found my faith again. Transalliance is not a religious organization, but the pastor at Safe Harbor United Church of Christ, Dusty Pruitt, gave me a calling. She gave me the space to meet. She gave me a purpose. We connected with the pastor of Rehoboth MCC Church, and they came together and we formed Transalliance in 2017. Then it was called Delaware Social. It's the name Transalliance came mostly because there were so many people out there that needed help. We were talking to churches, we were talking to schools, we were, people calling us, and so we wanted to form some kind of alliance with these groups, and that's really where Delaware Trans Social became Delaware Transalliance or Rehoboth Transalliance. Now we also have Dover Transalliance, which meets in the Felton Church on Main at Main the Methodist Church on Main Street, and it meets the last Friday of every month at 7 o'clock. We have our Salisbury Transalliance group that meets the 7 o'clock the first Monday of every month at the Salisbury Unitarian Church. And then Rehoboth Transalliance meets the first Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock at Rehoboth MCC Church. Our parents group also meets on the same night at 6 o'clock. So our parents group is kind of unique in that we don't lock parents behind closed doors and keep the transgender kids away from the community. We have the parents involved with the kids, with the trans community, with I call it our queer families. It's our gender queer and sexually queer families, those families that want to come together and support the transgender community. And that is LGBTQ by far.
Okay. So is Transalliance open for other identities as well to participate and support and be a part of?
Absolutely. All of our meetings are open to anybody that wants to come, as long as you're supportive and an ally and love us. The only thing that we ask is that transgender people have the stick. We're speaking at these meetings. Cisgender people are welcome to speak, but it's the transgender that rules the day. We want to be heard. So we are all inclusive. We cover the whole entire gender spectrum, male, female, and all the bright shining stars in between. They're welcome to come to Transalliance, find themselves, find each other. We did our first focus group with Salisbury University at Rehoboth MCC a couple weeks ago, and it was the most diverse group you'll ever meet. Black, white, Jewish, Christian, male, non-binary, Native American were all involved in this focus group. We had 5 questions and we were there for 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, the doctors from Salisbury University, their jaws were on the floor when they found out the lack of healthcare in this area, the lack of support, especially from the LGBTQ community. It's almost like a battle, like we're competing with each other, and it shouldn't be that way.
Right. I'm sure there's a wealth of information for someone to learn, just coming in. I would be that person. And I'm going to be honest. I would be the person to come and just sit and mingle with people, but I'm just here to learn, so I understand, so I know how to entreat others, and not that I treat them badly, but I just want to learn because I have no clue. So that would be a good environment to come and just sit and learn, correct? Would you say so?
Yes, and especially when we do our educational programs. People
Mhm.
can follow us on Facebook, Rehoboth Trans Alliance, one word, Trans Alliance. And like we just had the Trevor Project was did like a Zoom with our group, and it was very educational because they went into the roadblocks to healthcare for the transgender community, and they did describe exactly who was being harmed, and it's not all just one specific. There's asexual people are being harmed just as much by the legislation and the regulation that's going on right now. And asexual people in our society are as common as redheads, you know. So think about all the people that are being touched by this legislation that's coming down the pipes in all of these states. That it's so drastic what they're doing, and it's not just transgender people that they're hurting. They're hurting a lot of people. Think about a trans man trying to go into a woman's bathroom in places where it's required that you use the bathroom you were assigned at birth. That can be just as difficult as a trans woman trying to walk into and probably more difficult than a trans woman trying to walk into a female's bathroom.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
yeah, you can't just think about it from one perspective. There are
Mhm.
even cisgender people that, through no fault of their own, look either very feminine or very masculine, having never tried to transition or anything else. There's a condition that some women have where at puberty, the male genitalia all drop at puberty. So they have
Mm.
no idea up until puberty that they have or were hermaphroditic or intersexed.
Really?
Oh yeah, there are many older people that had that decision made for them at birth. I
Mm.
had a friend that did not discover that she was female until she found out she had ovarian cancer. Um,
Wow.
I had another friend that was in the Air Force, and it wasn't until they went until their top security clearance that they did a DNA test and found out that her genetic code was not XX, and that she had been operated on at surgery or at birth. She has had that decision made for her. There
Mm.
was a time when that decision was made when hermaphroditic people or intersex people were born. They used what they called the pronounced genitalia at the time. So
Mm.
if your penis was pronounced, they would sew the vagina up and you had a penis. If your vagina was non-existent, or if your vagina was pronounced, they would remove the testicles, and
But
you.
but aren't there testing that they can do to determine which is more dominant than the other?
Yeah, because that seems like such a hard decision to make,
Yeah.
especially like at birth.
Wow.
Um, the only person that can make that decision, and the only person that should make that decision, is the child, is the infant. Um, that we discovered that with Dr. Money. You cannot force somebody to be something that they're not. Um, so that decision has to come through consultation between the parent and the doctor and the therapist, and that's why hormones are often the puberty blockers are often needed in cases like that where they're being banned in other areas. There are actually physical reasons that those hormone blockers need to be used for in use cases. So it's
Mm.
not just because they're transgender or trying to transition. There are plenty
Mm.
of other, well, they're all valid medical reasons. According to WPATH standards, if a person identifies as female, then you give them the hormones that their body craves, that they desperately need to live a more normal life. Gender affirming care is what we call it.
Hmm. Wow. Well, I want to acknowledge some of our folks that have commented because we were all in it. And Jacqueline said she appreciates and applauds you for living your truth. And that's amazing because there are so many that are not, or they're fearful or whatever, but we all, no matter who you are, need to definitely live in our truth. So hey Corey, hello Mike. I'm not for sure if everyone is still on or not, but just wanted to say hello to everyone. We have come to the part that it's like, wait a minute, time has passed by already.
Absolutely. Well, I have
Yeah.
one
Go
thing.
ahead.
There was somebody that was on that was commenting on my Facebook, or I guess the, what do you call it? You know how we do.
Yeah.
I'm at a loss for words right now. But she had commented, she I guess Body Electric documentary. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay, so yes, Kenesha Lacole, she was one of our previous guests. She just said this is a documentary for the LGBTQ community that she thinks that you would love. So I'm not sure. I'll make sure that it goes into your inbox so that you could take a look at it, especially if it's something that you guys can be able to use as a tool, or as an extra for education and understanding for advocacy.
Yeah. Jackie
Absolutely.
said she said she learned a lot, Kathy. Thank you so much for the information. And she said virtual hugs to you. Oh.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
Oh,
we want to say thank you so much I appreciate you reaching out. And I appreciate you being on the show with us, giving us all of this great information, sharing your story. I'm appreciative of what I have learned today. And I look forward to you have a documentary that's out as well, right? Can
yeah,
you talk about that or no?
we didn't get to
It's
talk about that. But um, actually, they did make a documentary. It's called I Am Kathy. It's on Kickstarter right now. It's by Jane Therese. You can go to Kickstarter and support because it's in post production, but they need like $29,000 to go to production. So I don't know. Um, eh, it's I'm not real familiar with the movie, even though I'm the subject. Um, she doesn't. She followed me for 2 years, but she didn't
Mhm.
really. She doesn't really. She's not really telling me about what the story's about. I mean, I trust her and everything, so I'll leave it up to her. You can go to the Kickstarter and see I Am Kathy. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know exactly what it's about. It's about me, I guess, but you got to tune in to find out. They're doing an article on it right now in the Baltimore Blade, the Gay Blade. And then WHYY just did an interview too because I have the first ever exhibit in the Zwannendale Museum.
Okay, awesome. Well, there you have it. You go and watch that documentary. So, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Wow, this was definitely a good thing for me to have you on. And because I've never done anything like this, and I tell you, I have been enlightened. I'll put it like that. But it was great having you on here. Thank you so much for your time and you sharing what you did about your life and where you are now and the great things that you're doing for the community. Most appreciative. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much.
Yeah.
And go to sussexpride.org and take the LGBTQ needs assessment survey. Everybody out there, if you're a healthcare provider, print it, post it, let people take that survey. We need that data.
Is it just for Sussex County or
No,
for?
it's all of Delmarva.
Okay, perfect. I'll definitely make sure I spread the word.
Yeah.
I thank you very much for your vulnerability. I appreciate your honesty and your willingness to, share yourself, who you are and what, amazing things that you are doing right now and have done. I thank you.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you. I think the most important reason I do this is because of the kids. The kids need to know that there's people out there like them. They need to know that we're advocating for them, that we're here for them, and that there's hope for them. That's and by the way, I was just appointed to the Delaware Interscholastic Athletic Association Rules Committee, so I'll be able to help with the new changes to Title IX for our student athletes. Thank you all for giving me this opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, folks, this is the time we don't really like, but we got to do it. We don't want to wear you out. And we're at the end of our show for this week. And get this, next Tuesday is the 4th of July, and Morgan and I will not be here. We are going to take a break, and that's going to feel weird because we have been on every Tuesday since January 25th.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be weird. And I bet you $10 it will be a birth that happens to make you feel like, oh, thank gosh, I don't have to miss the
And I'm gonna be sitting around figuring out, okay, what am I gonna do for this next hour? I'm supposed to be like, yeah, text me. Yeah, you need to do that. Like, are you okay? How are you holding up? I know we're supposed to be on. Are you good?
That withdrawal is real, isn't it?
Right. So, wow. So, everyone, we want you to make sure that you subscribe to the House of Peach. You know what we do here. We are supportive. We want to push you. We want to encourage you. We want to inspire you. We want to uplift you to be your best self. And also to go for those entrepreneurs. We want to get you connected with people. That's why we have you to share and tag, because you may have what someone else needs. And if you're a guest on our show, then you have the exposure to help your business get to the next level. And if you know someone, a female who's an entrepreneur doing phenomenal things, and they want to be a guest on the show, you better get in while you can, because the schedule is filling up. I think we have like the middle of October to December that we have open. So, and they don't stay empty long. So you need to inbox either Morgan or myself and let us know that you want to be on the show. We will be more than happy to have you on and put you in the hot seat and interview you and have you share what your business is and everything that you're doing with that. So we thank you all so much for being on. Thank you for your comments and everything. And we will see you not next week, which is the 4th. We will see you on the 11th, which is my son's 18th birthday.
Look, I was freaking out at 13, but 18, that's a huge freak out.
18th birthday. I'm like, oh my God. So then after that, it'll just be Ariel, and I have to get her on that way. Oh my goodness, my son will be 18. That's your daughter's birthday, Peach? Oh. All right, so until July 11th. Oh my goodness, it's almost July. Can you believe that?
Oh, yeah, July 11th. That's my goddaughter's birthday and my aunt's birthday too. That's a popular day.
Popular day. Okay, the 11th. The 11 is the one.
11.
Sorry. All right, we will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Enjoy yourselves. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Great weekend. And we are going to get recharged, and we will be back on July 11th.
Yes.
Thank you. Steve.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm so extra. Express myself, I'm next up. Yeah, what more do you say? Coming up. Yeah.